In the year 844 AD, a red line was drawn across the map of Europe, not by ink, but by blood. The Vikings sailed south, further than ever before, past France, past Portugal, turning the corner into the warm waters of the Mediterranean. They arrived at Seville, Ishbilia, a jewel of Islamic civilization. White walls, golden domes, and palm trees swaying in the heat. To the Northmen, this sun-drenched paradise was alien. To the locals, the dragon ships looming over the river were monsters from a nightmare. Sweating in their furs, pale and sunburnt, the Vikings stared with greedy eyes. They were not here to trade. They landed on dry, yellow sand. The Almages, the fire worshippers, had arrived. The clash of cultures was instantaneous and violent. Chaos erupted in the streets. Silk robes fled in panic as berserkers overturned stalls, mixing the vibrant colors of the market with the red of violence. They smashed delicate ceramics just to see what was inside. Perfume spilled on bloody hands. A brutal collision of the raw north and the refined south. Slaughter followed. Curved scimitars met heavy straight swords. Light turbans clashed with iron helmets. Two worlds fighting for dominance. They looted the mosques, staring up at geometric beauty before ripping the gold from the walls. Beauty met brutality. But in Cordoba, the Emir Abd Rahman too sat calm. Playing chess in the cool shadows, he received the news of Seville's fall. He did not panic, he simply moved a piece. Checkmate. His response would be calculated, professional, and lethal. He unleashed the Umayyad army, disciplined cavalry, shining steel, uniform armor. A war machine unlike anything the Vikings had faced. They loaded their siege engines, not with rocks, but with ceramic pots filled with black liquid. Naphtha. Fire was coming. In Seville, the Vikings relaxed. Drunk on success and looted wine, they sat on piles of silk, underestimating their enemy. A sentry ate a pomegranate, spitting seeds as he watched a dust cloud rise. It stretched across the entire plain of Tablada. The Umayyad army arrived in perfect geometric lines. Cavalry on the wings, infantry in the center, order marching against chaos. The Viking leader rallied his men. They formed a shield wall, but in the harsh sunlight, they looked ragged and hungover. The battle began. Feigning cavalry pulled back, firing arrows. The Vikings raised their shields, frustrated by an enemy they could not touch. Then, the catapults fired. Clay pots arced through the blue sky, leaking black death. Impact. Liquid fire exploded on the shield wall. Sticky flames clung to beards and clothes. The shield wall became a wall of fire. The massacre began. Heavy cavalry trampled the broken line. The ground shook with the retribution of the south. They fled to the river, but the exit was blocked. Flaming arrows rained down. The dragon ships burned. A warrior jumped, dragged down by his armor. The river offered no escape, only a watery grave. Retribution was gruesome. Heads hung from date palm trees, silhouetted against the setting sun. A brutal warning to the north. Survivors knelt before the emir, stripped of armor and pride. The choice was simple: death or conversion. A warrior bowed, his long locks sheared off. He looked into the water, seeing a new man staring back. Years later, on a peaceful farm, the former raider churned milk. The cheesemakers of Andalusia, a surreal end to a violent life. The emir built a navy. The raid had taught a hard lesson. The Mediterranean was now closed to the Vikings. The map shifts. The red line retreats north. The warm yellow fades into the cool blues of Scandinavia. 872 AD Norway. Snow-capped mountains rise from the deep blue fjord. The wind howls, a sharp contrast to the sun of Spain. Enter Harold Fairhair. Handsome, wild, his hair matted and unwashed. He stares out at a fragmented kingdom. Rejection sparked ambition. "I will not marry a chieftain of a few acres," she said. "Come back when you are king of all Norway." He took a vow, not to cut or comb his hair until he had conquered them all. A tangle of ambition growing with every victory. One by one, the petty kings fell. The map of Norway filled with a single color. Unification was coming. Rival chieftains gathered in the dark. Quixote the Rich led the alliance, fearing Harold's rising power. They prepared for Hafrsfjord, loading ships with gold and men. Quixote believed his wealth would buy him victory. But Harold had a secret weapon, In a cave, the Ulfednar drank their brew and donned wolfskins, eyes dilated with madness. The fleets gathered in the narrow bay, hundreds of ships, a floating city of war about to be built on the water. Tactics shifted. Grappling hooks lashed the ships together. The deck became a massive wooden battlefield. No maneuvering, just slaughter. Silence before the storm. Harold stood at the prow, his hair blowing like a banner of war. Collision. Timber groaned and splintered. The impact shook the world. Hooks bit into wood. Ropes pulled tight, dragging the enemy into the meat grinder. The berserkers charged, leaping across the gap before the ships even touched, howling, biting their shields in a trance. First blood, ignoring defense, attacking wildly. Pain meant nothing to them. Terrifying adrenaline fueled the assault. Harold joined the fray, his matted hair whipping around him. He moved with cold precision amidst the madness. Kyoto commanded from his gilded chair. Archers fired into the mist, striking friend and foe alike in the cramped space. The gap was deadly. A slip on the wet deck meant falling into the freezing water, crushed between the grinding hulls. From above, it looked like ants on a leaf. The water turned dark red. The mist isolated them in a private hell. Thoria the Longchin stepped forward, a giant swinging an iron-shod club, smashing men aside like dolls. Harold faced him, speed versus strength, a thrust into the gap in armor, and the giant fell. The tide turned. Panic spread. Seeing their champion fall, the alliance broke. They cut the ropes, trying to flee. Kjotve abandoned his dignity. Throwing away his gold shield, he rowed frantically in a small boat. The rich had lost everything. The rout was on. Fire arrows lit the fog. The escaping ships burned in the night. Victory.
Fulfilled, King.
Harold stood
Allow
covered
me.
in blood.
Not
No one
yet.
was left standing to oppose him.
First, we feast.
Shears were offered, but Harold shook his head. Not yet. First we feast. The vow would wait one more night. Bodies washed up on the rocks, crows feasted. The cost of unification was paid in corpses. The exodus began. Defeated chieftains packed their wealth and left to Iceland, Faroes, and Orkney. The defeat sparked a new expansion. Harold sat on his throne, regal and groomed. Harold Fairhair was born. The map solidified. Blue Norway was whole. Arrows shot out across the sea. The Viking Age expanded west. Time melts the snow into English rain. 991 AD. The era of expansion ends. The era of decline begins. The river Blackwater, bleak, gray, and misty. The tide separates the island from the mainland with a dark swirl. On Northey Island, the fleet waits. The Viking leader stands frustrated, blocked by the water. On the shore, Earl Bergmouth waits. Old, tall, white-haired. He radiates authority and Saxon pride. His men
Send
are a
us
mix.
gold,
Hearthguards and
and we will
chainmail,
leave
and peasants
you
with
in
axes.
peace.
They look to their old earl. Send us
Here is
gold,
your
the Viking
tribute.
shouts, and we will leave you in
Spears and
peace.
sword
A taunt
points.
echoing over the water. Bertnoth raises his shield. Here's your tribute, spears and sword points. The refusal is absolute. The tide turns. The muddy causeway emerges, a bridge of death connecting the two armies. 3 champions step forward, blocking the narrow path, a choke point where numbers mean nothing. Vikings
Show
fall
your
back,
courage.
stabbed in the
Let
mud,
us
unable to
cross,
break through the 3
so we may
defenders.
fight a fair battle.
The Viking leader plays a trick. Show your courage. Let us cross and fight fair. A challenge to honor. Bertnoth considers. Advisors warn him, but his eyes narrow. Ofermod, overpride takes the bait. He wants glory. Open the way, he commands. The soldiers retreat from the choke point. A fatal mistake born of chivalry. The crossing. Vikings pour across like a black flood, fanning out onto the field. The trap is sprung. The armies line up. The tactical advantage is lost. Now it is a battle of brute strength. Highlands, boots squelch in the mud, seagulls cry. Drums beat, doom approaches. Battle commences. A cloud of arrows darkens the sky. Shields thud with impact. Bertnuth leads the charge. The old wolf fights with a two-handed sword, cutting down the first invader. Chaos in the melee, lines blur. A brawl in the mud where men are trampled by friend and foe. Wounded, a spear pierces his arm. He drops his sword, looking to the sky, whispering a prayer. The killing blow, surrounded, hacked from all sides. The leader falls face down in the Essex mud. Vikings cheer brutally, stripping his armor. The Saxon line wavers. Confusion spreads. Betrayal. Godric sees the riderless horse. Panic takes him. He scrambles for it. He mounts and gallops away. Cowardice galloping towards the forest, leaving his comrades to die. The Earl flees. The peasants mistake the horse for the man. Panic is contagious. Collapse, shields drop, the wall dissolves. They stream into the woods, leaving the veterans exposed. The Hearthguard remains. They see the retreat, but do not move. They look at the body in the mud. They know their fate. Berthold speaks. Mine must be harder, heart the keener, spirit the greater, as our strength lessens. The last stand, a tight ring around the corpse, fighting not for victory, but for dignity. Brutal combat, taking a fatal blow to drag an enemy down. No surrender. The circle shrinks, bodies pile up, a tragic, poetic visual of absolute loyalty. The last man falls. Bertwold fights alone until the end, still gripping his shield. Silence returns. Looting the field, the river is tinged red. The pride of the Saxons lies dead. In London, King Ethelred paces, weak and indecisive in the flickering torchlight. Berthold is dead. The report brings terror. The king covers his face. Pay them. The fatal advice is given by their departure. The weighing of silver. Coins pour onto the scale. The sound of clinking metal is deafening. Danegeld, the price of weakness. Coins bearing the king's face pass to the enemy. Vikings laugh as they load the chests. They have found a steady income. They will be back. Ethelred watches them sail away. He bought peace, but he bought his own destruction. 10,000 pounds of silver. The era of heroic resistance is over. In the void, the Dane axe floats, the breaker of shield walls, rusted and lethal. Impact test. It smashes through wood and leather. Splinters fly like shrapnel. Contrast. The Andalusian scimitar cuts silk, elegant but lacking brute force. The Ulfberth sword, ripples of crucible steel, the nuclear weapon of the 9th century. Chainmail glows red hot, a death trap in the fires of Spain. The round shield exploded, layers of wood and leather, composite engineering. The long ship hull, floating in only 1 meter of water, the key to inland invasion. Clinker construction, overlapping planks flex with the waves, flexible strength. The wool sail, waterproof with lanolin, pulling the heavy ship forward. The floating island, lashed ships creating a stable platform for infantry. The sunstone, polarizing light to find the sun, the secret GPS. Stockfish, dried cod that fueled weeks at sea. hygiene, combs, and tweezers, dispelling the myth of the dirty barbarian. The Berserker's Potion, a dark herbal brew, altered states of mind. Runestones! He died in the east, feeding the eagles. Memorials in granite. Loot and trade. Scales balance coins against jewelry. The birth of commerce. The Viking woman, keys at her belt, manager of the homestead. The Raven Banner, flapping for victory, drooping for defeat. Belief in fate. Medical kit, needle and silk, treating the wounds of the axe. The map expands, east and west. The road to the east. Red lines cross the Baltic into Russia. The Ruesse. The portage, dragging ships over land. Sheer physical effort connecting rivers. Kiev, a trading hub. Vikings mingling with Slavs. Fusion of cultures. Constantinople, the golden dome of Hagia Sophia, dwarfing any Viking city. The Varangian Guard, elite bodyguards in Byzantine armor. Graffiti, Haften carved these runes, a tourist mark on history. To the west, flying over Iceland's volcanoes and geysers. Erica Red, marketing a green fjord in a land of ice, Greenland. Life in Greenland, harsh and beautiful, hunting walruses for ivory.
Land
Liv
ho!
Erikson, 1000 AD, sailing into the unknown fog. Land ho, forests and wild wheat, Vinland. Lanso meadows, sod houses in Canada. Confirmed history. First contact. Vikings encounter the Skrillings. Curiosity mixed with fear. The trade. Red cloth for furs. Peace is fragile. The conflict. Outnumbered by a continent. Retreating to the ships. Departure. Leaving America to fade into legend. Global networks, silver, ivory, silk. The Vikings were the connective tissue of the world. 1013 AD, the Golden Age ends. Imperial conquest begins. Swaying forkbird. Troop transports, not trade ships. An anchor lifts. War drums beat. The professional army, uniform formation, a state-sponsored invasion. Ethelred flees, abandoning his people in disgrace. Enter Canute, young, sharp-eyed, calculating, cold ambition. Battle of Asandon, fighting Edmund Ironside on the hill. Treachery. The trap snaps shut. The English army is crushed. The summit. A brief peace between warrior princes. Edmund dies. Canute becomes sole king, ruling with dignity. Marriage. Canute and Emma, legitimizing his rule. The North Sea Empire, England,
Kings
Denmark,
have no power over
Norway.
nature. Only
Viking
God
union.
is supreme.
The tide, power belongs only to God. wisdom and humility. Integration. Viking and Saxon cultures merge in peace. Varangians convert the north. Long ships carry crosses. Canute dies. The legs kick out. The empire fractures. Chaos returns. Sons fight and die. Edward the Confessor, a monk king with Norman advisors. Seeds of 1066. Westminster Abbey rises. The Godwin family grows powerful. The three contenders: Harold, William, Hardrada. William looks across the channel, hungry eyes. Hardrada sharpens his axe, the old way. January 1066. Edward dies. Hands reach for the crown. The omen, Halley's comet, apocalyptic foreboding. The last invasion, Hardrada lands with 300 ships, the thunderbolt of the north. The forced march, 185 miles in 4 days. Saxon endurance. Surprise at Stamford Bridge. Vikings caught unarmored. The berserker on the bridge. One man holding back an army. The ingenious kill. Spear from below. Death of Hardrada, arrow to the throat, dying laughing. Total defeat. 24 ships return. The nightmare pivot. The Normans have landed. No rest. William's landing. Grasping the sand. Propaganda from a fall. Battle of Hastings. The shield wall on Senlac Hill. Cavalry charge. Horses fear the spears. Hoot, hoot. Feigned retreat. Discipline breaks. The wall cracks. The slaughter. Massacre in the open field. Rain of arrows. Shielding from the front is useless. Death of Harold, arrow in the eye.
And with
the banner trampled.
I shall conquer.
William unmasked. He has won a kingdom, but killed its flower. Coronation. A violent beginning. The Bayeux Tapestry. History become an art. Linguistic shift. Old English meets French. Birth of modern culture. Raiders to builders. Wood burns to reveal stone. Tower of London. Symbol of the unified state. Rollo morphs into William. Vikings became Normans. Language merge. Survival of the tongue. Castles replace burgs. The landscape changes. Flashback montage. The struggle summarized. A candle marks the time. Statue of Alfred, eternal defender. Roots wrap sword and axe, united in soil. White horse, majestic and timeless. Memory of me and good works. Credits roll on the tapestry. Alfred. Guthrum, Athelstan. Athelstan the grandson. Canute. Harold and William. A modern child. Peace returns. Sun flare.